I want to acknowledge something really fast, and it's that now more than ever, people are rooting for short-term rental hosts to fail. The economy is shifting, the housing market is correcting itself, and people are like, I told you so, I told you this was just a fad, and blah, 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 and they're really trying to rub it in our faces, right? Because there were a lot of hosts over the last 5 years that were starting their Airbnbs by getting an apartment or a home, throwing a couch and a mattress in there, taking cell phone photos, and making thousands of dollars. I was initially part of this camp, right? But what a lot of hosts failed to go on and do was optimize their business and provide an experience to guests, because as the short-term rental platforms and the marketplaces started to get more saturated, people weren't adapting. And now as we're starting to see these economic changes, people who didn't adapt are failing, they're getting weeded out, or they're just really hurting right now, right? So I wanted to share a presentation that I gave at HostCon, my short-term rental conference back in January, where I talked about 8 ways that I'm retooling and re-strategizing my real estate portfolio to succeed and to win the Airbnb game in 2023. And there are a lot of people in the room that said that this was game-changing for them and eye-opening, because it just forced them to think a little out of the box. So I hope that this is helpful for you. By the way, if you don't know who I am, I'm Rob Abasolo. I am the founder, maker, creator of the Rob Built YouTube channel, the largest Airbnb YouTube channel on the internet. And I'm also the co-host of the Bigger Pockets Real Estate Podcast, which is the #1 real estate podcast in the world. So sit back and, sit forward, take notes, and let's get into it.
8 rules to rule the short-term rental game in 2023. All right, so these are a couple things that I want to be real with you guys, because there's a lot of alarmism and a lot of negativity out there. There's kind of like all these YouTubers that make these clickbait thumbnails, and they're like, the crash is here, and I'm an idiot for investing in Airbnb, and they're like, the Airbnb bust, negative $25,000 a month, and incoming crash. Then they got the upside down graph. No one likes to see me happy. That's the thing on YouTube. If you guys haven't noticed, is all my faces are always like, I'm like, oh, what's going to happen? Oh, no. Because when I smile, no one clicks it, right? And so when I'm making my videos about this, and you see things like the crash is here and everything, I always try to deliver on that with what is actually happening in the world, and then put my spin on it, right? I always do have, in my opinion, a relatively positive message, because I think that anybody can really succeed in the world of short-term rentals. There's just a few things that you have to do, okay? And these are very simple, fundamental truths that I live by and that I'm going to be implementing a lot more in 2023, all right? So rule number 1, collaboration over competition, always, 100% of the time. You have 0 to gain from being competitive with anybody in this room, okay? And what I mean by this is there are all these cultures within Airbnb where you ask people, oh, how are you doing? And no one wants to divulge information. No one wants to tell people how much they make, because they're like, well, hey, if I tell you that I'm crushing it in Joshua Tree, then you're going to buy in Joshua Tree and you're going to take my money. And that's not fun. That makes it it could be a very negative tunnel, right? And so for me, if you watch the YouTube channel, so many people have told me time and time again, they're like, you're crazy, dude. Why are you telling people that you invest in Joshua Tree or the Smoky Mountains or in Austin or in West Virginia or in Whitewater, Wisconsin? And for me, I generally live by the theory of abundance, right? There's enough out there for everybody. So tonight, when you're talking to people, share. Open up. Tell them how much you're making. It's so taboo to be like, how much do you make? On a salary standpoint, I get it. But from an Airbnb standpoint, we are all here to help each other win. You know what I mean? And so a really good example of this, actually, I just saw Chris Fillingham over here. He's a host camper. And he's crushing it in Branson, Missouri. And when he joined the program, he made a post, and he was like, hey, guys, I'm crushing it in Branson, Missouri. Does anyone want to learn about Branson, Missouri? And a lot of the students were like, yeah, let's do it. Most people don't do that because they're scared that you're going to take their money, right? But it's way, way more fun if you can find friends to buddy up with and tell them everything, all right? And I'll give you a really good example of this. Tony and Sarah Robinson, they might be in this room. Yeah, there they are. They're over there. They are literally in my thread as being besties. And Sarah was like, I'm so glad to have a friend that's open to talking numbers. I text them for everything. They have a short-term rental conference that's going to be amazing, and it's happening in 2 weeks. And I was texting them moments before this. I was like, guys, we oversold the event by 100 people. What do I do? And they're like, just do it. And I was like, all right, well, I guess I have no option, right? And I asked them, and they helped me. And Kai Andrew, he's probably in here too. He's one of my best YouTube friends too. We share. We tell each other all of our secrets. everything. We don't hold back. Mike Elefante, new friend of mine. We chatted for an hour the other day. It was the first time we ever talked, and we told each other everything. And I felt when I'm honest with my friends, when I'm honest with people in the Airbnb space, I level up. All right? There's no way to level up if you're not learning from someone else and you're not being honest, right? So tonight, when we're all having beer at Frosttown Brewing, open up and be truthful and be like, hey, this is a good market for you. I'm crushing it here, and let me tell you why you'll crush it here too. All right? Rule number 2. Oh my God, Becky, look at that beautiful listing. All right, so I'm really heavying up into the oh my God, unique, crazy, categorical spaces that Airbnb promotes at the top of their website, right? So I've bought a lot of homes in the last couple years, and for me, I said this earlier, I just like really creative things. And so I remember I was talking to Kai a couple weeks ago, and I was like, man, I got this really weird idea. I kind of want to build this like mini golf course, like a mini putt-putt course, and it's like 8 tiny houses on an acre, and it's instead of it being like little crazy, fake plaster homes, it's actually homes that you can book on Airbnb. And he was like, well, I'm interested in that. Should we do it? I was like, well, I'm open to it, right? But for me, that's like, I haven't seen that yet, right? And so I think it's really important now more than ever to think outside of the box, right? And I'm not saying don't go buy single-family residences or anything like that, because I'm still doing that too, and I'm still going to buy, condos, and I'm still going to buy hotels. But I'm really going to be putting a lot of focus into building weird, cool stuff. I just saw a listing not too long ago go live, I think, in Hocking Hills. Maybe some of you have seen it, but it was like a cave. It was like a cave where they put like a big glass wall in it, and it was exceptional. And it made me angry that I didn't do it first. And that's what I want. I want to make listings that make people angry that they didn't do it first, and that's how you should be doing it too. Every single one of your listings should make people jealous. Should make people think, wow, I wish one day that I can do that. A really good example of this is Christy Mae Wolf. If you ever see any of her stuff, she's got a potato in the middle of Idaho. It's a relatively simple structure. Grosses like $70,000 a year. Don't know how much the potato was, but it wasn't $70,000, and I'm mad because it's a potato. I want to do that, right? So that's what I'm going to be doing in 2023. So do what you can to stand out, because that's how we are going to stand out. Rule number 3. Take control back, all right? What I mean by this is it's important to diversify. I am a big, I don't get, like Airbnb, they don't pay me to market for them or anything like that. Like, I love Airbnb. I'm a big fan. I use Vrbo too, but if y'all ever hear me on my channel, I say Airbnb because I'm a big fan. But I've learned over the past year or so that it's important to take control back of how you're marketing your listings, and you should have a little bit more control with direct booking websites. Because I've had friends and I've had host campers that their Airbnb, listing might have gotten shut down for a while, and it's hard to get it reactivated. And it actually happened to me for for like 2 or 3 days. And it was kind of a scramble for us because we couldn't even communicate with our guests. And then they lifted it, and it was all fine. No actual detrimental effects. But it did teach me that I should be taking control back, right? And so right around that time, Mark Simpson of Boostly reached out to me. They're one of the sponsors of HostCon, and he said, hey man, let me make you a direct booking website, and let me show you how to market yourself. He's like, with your platform, being a YouTuber, being an Instagrammer, a content creator, all that kind of stuff, there's no reason why you can't be getting 50 to 75% of your business just from those channels. And then you cut out the middleman, and then you cut out the thing that people hate the most about Airbnb, which are the fees, right? Or you keep a little bit of the fees for yourself. So my plan for 2023 is I would love for 50% of my income to come from direct booking websites. And I'm actually working on this for myself personally, but a really big initiative of mine, and I was very anti this, to be honest, but Mark brought me to the dark side, and we're actually going to be creating like a host camp website, direct booking website, where all the host campers can actually list their stuff and basically use my platform to market their own Airbnbs, because it gives us the control back to be able to market our own listings, and basically we can insure our own place, we can charge whatever fees we want, we can be the people that are responsible for the customer service, but not necessarily held with our backs to the wall because you're scared that you might get a bad review from a guest, right? So I think this is really big. This is really, really, really big. Now is the time more than ever to really heavy up on direct booking websites. Rule number 4, This is a big one. This is a really, really big one for me. Put yourself out there. I know it's scary. I know it's scary to speak up. I know it's scary to go and introduce yourself. You know, if you see a group of people, you want to butt in, it's tough, right? But I put myself out there, and it's not, you know, I'm a generally extroverted person, but when I made my first YouTube video, I was like, oh, man, I didn't even tell my friends and my family. I genuinely didn't. I was like, I'm going to wait until I kind of figure out what I'm doing, and then maybe I'll let them know. And so my first couple of videos, I didn't tell anybody. And I remember I posted my third video, and I think I posted it to Reddit. And I was like, hey, I want to start a DIY channel. Here's my second video. And it got to the front page, and it got like 3,000 upvotes. And it got 2,000 views or something. It was a lot for me at the time. But I was like, whoa, maybe I'm on to something. Maybe me putting myself out there, maybe this was the right call. And I put myself out there, and you know, some really cool things have happened. OPM has approached me, other people's money. I have funded probably 25% of my own properties. But so many people have approached me with money. I get emailed because of a stupid little video that I put out there that was terribly framed, that went viral all of a sudden. People will email me offering $1 to $2 million of investment capital every single week at a minimum. And I don't know what to do with it, which is why I'm starting Raw Built Capital, and eventually I'm going to deploy that capital. But for years, $2-3 million come in through the inbox. Ask Clint. I always forward it to him. I'm like, just talk to the people. I don't know what to do. And it's because I made a video and I put myself out there. The hotel deal that I showed you, the 20-unit deal in the Adirondacks, that was sent to me on Instagram. A seller said, hey, I'll sell this to you and I'll finance it for you. And we're like, great. In a beach house that was just sent to me like 2 or 3 weeks ago, was sent to me on Instagram, and someone said, hey, this is a brand new beach house. It's fully furnished. It's ready to be an Airbnb. It's got mugs, it's got forks, it's got Febreze, it's got everything. You just need to come to the table with $50,000. And I was like, all right, where do I sign? And I bought a house with $50,000 on an investment that typically would have cost me $250,000 out of my pocket. And so the idea that you can put yourself out there and show people your passion, and that you can show people that you're a credible person, it can really, really work wonders in your life. All right? So put yourself out there with people in this community and just ask the hard questions. Say, hey, do you want to partner up? You might be scared. That's fine. But you have to do it, because that's how you go to the next level. 5. Oh, I love this one. Punch a hole in the wall. All right? So I was a big DIYer. I said I started a DIY channel on YouTube first, before it was a tiny house, Airbnb, you know, all that kind of stuff. And for me, I kind of live by this philosophy that if you just punch a hole in the wall on a project that you want to start, it's going to sort of force you to fix said like hole in the wall, because then you have to stare at the hole in the wall if you don't. And so there are a lot of you that probably looked at deals that comp out today, and you didn't text your realtor about it. Why? Because you're probably a little apprehensive, maybe analysis paralysis. You got in your head, you're at this conference, you don't have time to sit down. But punch a hole in the wall. Just make the offer. It feels good, even if the offer is no. But making an offer can be the start of your empire. You just have to do it. Making an offer on your third home can be the reason that you get into a house that then leads to a hotel, that then leads to a glamping development, that then leads to you quitting your 9-to-5 job. You have to punch a hole in the wall to get started. And it's fine, and it's fine. And maybe, if you're like me, I punch a lot of holes in the walls, and I'm like, well, and my wife's like, can you patch those up? And I'm like, let me go one by one, right? I have all these things that I've committed myself to that I didn't need to do that, right? I didn't need to do it because I have to patch up 5 holes, but I want to figure it out. And so I've gotten myself into all the deals that I'm in because I'm just like, I'm going to do it, and I'm going to figure it out. That beach house I was talking about, I had no idea how to carry out a sub-2 deal or a creative finance deal, but I figured it out. And now I got an amazing house, and I got to go and stay in that house with my family a week ago, and I got to enjoy the fruits of owning an Airbnb and actually vacationing there. And guess what? For the next 12 months, other people will pay for it, and I'll get to go to the beach for free whenever I want. But other people will pay for it, and I'll make a profit on that house. And that's the beautiful thing about Airbnb. So if you're scared, you can take small, bite-sized steps to get you to that next step, all right? You can do something like text a realtor, get a pre-approval, go talk to Drew, get a pre-approval. You do that, then it at least shows you how much money you can qualify for, and then from that point, you can say, all right, I qualify for these houses, I don't qualify for these houses, right? And now, whenever you get those really smart targeted emails from Redfin that shows you houses in your price range, then maybe you can contact a realtor, and then maybe you can make an offer, and then maybe you can go on from there. But you got to take action. Rule number 6, embrace that you're crazy. Every single one of us in here, we're freaking crazy for wanting to get into real estate in 2023. All right? No one here will ever think that you're normal. A lot of you work 9-to-5 jobs, and they say, are you really going to a short-term rental conference in 2023? Do you understand how crazy that is? But what they don't understand is that it's kind of crazy to rely on one source of income that could evaporate overnight if their company just decided, hey, we don't need you anymore. That's happening. So is that crazy, or is it crazy? Is it so crazy to just create multiple streams of income, to have 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 Airbnbs that can basically supplement your life in the event that you lose your job, right? We're crazy. That's fine. For a long time, I was so offended by that when people said, you're crazy. And now I'm like, that's a badge of honor. I am crazy, and so are all of you. So embrace it, because the moment you realize that you're crazy, it's kind of cool, and you're like, all right, shit, no one can get in my head now. Rule number 7, buy the base hits. All right, we all want the home runs, and this is a really tough thing about being an educator in the short-term rental and Airbnb space. I talk about the money that I make on my Airbnbs, and so a lot of people are like, well, Rob, I saw that you did this. I also want to make $83,000 on a tiny home. I also want to make a 50% cash-on-cash return. I also want to get paid back fully in the first year. And that's not always reasonable or applicable to every situation. And so we spend so long trying to get that home run that we never actually do anything at all. And then what happens? Life happens. You go back to school, you get a new job, you have a kid, you get sick, whatever it is, and then you never actually get started. So be okay with the base hits. A base hit is fine. Did you know that I'm actually fine with breaking even on my Airbnb properties? Why do you think that is? Well, appreciation, what Matt just talked about, cost segregation. I can wipe out a significant portion of my tax bill. And so if I can use the 5 purchases that I made in that year to wipe out $200,000 in taxes, was it really breaking even? Not really. It's a base hit. You don't need a home run all the time, right? You can have 10 base hits and then go for your home run, and then all of a sudden, 30 years from now, it's all a home run, right? It's all a grand slam. I don't know that much about sports, but I'm pretty sure this makes sense. The first job I ever got was a copywriter for Gatorade, and they were interviewing me, and they were like, hey, so you have to like sports. You like sports, right? And I was like, yeah, I do. I love them. They're my favorite. And they're like, what's your favorite team? And I was like, UT, which is where I went to school. And they're like, all right, I don't believe it, but I guess so. And they did hire me. And then afterwards, they were like, you're such a liar. And Ryan, he's actually back there, he's one of my best friends. He actually rewrote so many of my lines for like 4 years because he's like, dude, you can't slam dunk on the soccer field. But all to say, buy the base hits and be okay with it. Because honestly, I think taking action and buying a base hit, it's kind of low stakes, right? You do it, you break even, you're like, no, it's all right. I'm not expecting to make a lot of money from it. I'm kind of breaking even, I'm making a couple $100 cash flow here. But you learn the process and it allows you to settle into it. And then you can go after the big ones, all right? Rule number 8, partner up. Find people that can cry with you, that can vent with you, that can celebrate with you, that can understand the significance of getting a $3,200 reservation randomly on a Friday night. It's really cool. It's really cool to be sitting next to your business partners, and then you see a really big reservation come in, and you're like, dude, we just covered our mortgage. And it was like in 3 days, the mortgage is covered. It's going to be all profit from here. This was one of my favorite things when I started my short-term rental portfolio. And like I said earlier, I think partnering up also just allows you to really discuss very complex nuances. I deal with such random things, right? Like my Wi-Fi being too fast and a guest wanting to cancel. I deal with that kind of stuff every day. And for the most part, I'm pretty good at handling it. But I'm good at handling it because I've talked about it at great length with my partners, and we've decided that together, and it's helped me. And it really is just a really great way to scale up too. And it can be really lonely doing it alone. You know what I mean? Like if you're by yourself in this, it's kind of scary. You know, at that point, maybe there are people at your job that say you're crazy, and then maybe you're like, oh man, they're right. But if you had a hype man or hype woman next to you that was like, no, we're doing this. They can shut up. We're going to do this. And you're like, all right, fine, let's do it. You can kind of hype each other up. That's a really cool thing about having a good partner, all right? So find someone that is as passionate about real estate as you or about Airbnb, and I promise it's going to be okay. You're going to make lifelong friends. And there are bad partnerships too, and that's why you kind of want to make sure that you like the person, that you complement each other. But for the most part, every single one of my partnerships, no, not for the most part, every single one of them have been great. And I love these guys. And they are so good to me that literally one of my partners is the executor of my will. Not to get too morbid here, but it's true because he knows everything about my business, right? And so I think you need someone that you can trust to handle every decision for you to help you format exactly how you want to forward your journey in the short-term rental space, all right? And then rule number 8. Oh, yeah, here's my partners, by the way. You know, we've been through a lot. This is our first condo we ever bought in Austin. That photo right there, it was like 5 degrees. And I don't know, that was a giant tent that didn't even come with directions. It was supposed to, and it was freezing, and then it was raining, and we were out there for 4 hours trying to figure out how to build the most complex, like, circus tent of all time. And we were so angry, and, like, we were yelling at each other, and, like, we ran out of materials, and then oh, man, it was just so much. But then at the end of it, we were like, hey, we did that. We built that together, and that's a cool thing. Rule number 8/9. Get creative, all right? You don't need $100,000 to buy a house. You don't need $200,000. Sometimes you can get started with zero. Sometimes you can be like me, and you can get started with $2,000. There are so many ways that you can get into the short-term rental game for $0, for $5,000, for $10,000. So many people here probably did not get into the short-term rental game the traditional way where you went and put 20% down on a house. A lot of people here, how many people here house hack, just by a show of hands? Or how many people here have house hacked? That's a really crazy creative way to get into real estate. There are a lot of people here that own a home that they could house hack and rent on Airbnb and pay for their mortgage. And you probably don't even realize it. You can rent a room and it's like, oh my gosh, one room can make me $1,500 a night if I'm booking it for 50 nights a month at 30 nights a month on a perfect month. It's cool. It's a really cool thing. So get creative with how you find your deals. So I want to say this, Pace Morby's been a good friend of mine and a good mentor to me, and there's a lot of sub-2 students in here, right? Raise your hand if you're a sub-2 student. A couple here. So find the guys with the peace sign hat signs, all right? And go and talk to them about subject to and creative financing. I told them to assign me all their deals, all right? A subject to is effectively where someone has a home and they want to get out of the home and they'll lose money if they sell it. So you can actually assume the financing and you don't ever have to pull your credit. You don't have to do anything like that. You don't have to go to a lender. That house right there that you can kind of see, the pink one, that's the house in Galveston that I was talking about. The seller was ready to launch it as an Airbnb, and then he said, you know what? I don't want to do it. I need 25 grand. And so he sent it to a wholesaler, and the wholesaler was like, hey man, this seller just wants to get out fast. He just wants $25,000. You'll pay me $20,000, and then the closing costs will be $10,000. It'll be about $50K. Are you cool with that? And I was like, yeah, that's fine. $20,000 I had to pay the guy that sent it to me, and I was so happy to do that because I got in for $50,000. There are a lot of those guys wearing the peace sign hats that get into houses for free for $0. All right, go talk to them, go mingle with them, and see if they'll sell you their deals. All right, tell them I sent you. Pace has been really influential to me in the past couple of months. So for me, I actually plan on acquiring a lot of properties in 2023 at $0 down. And the cool thing is, if someone is in that situation and they want to get out of it, a lot of the times you assume the actual interest rate as well, right? So in this particular instance, the interest rate was like, I don't know, 6.25%, not super low, but he actually seller financed to me $140,000 at 2% interest, interest only. So I'm only paying him like $300, and it balloons in 10 years. So it's pretty crazy. It's a pretty good deal, and you can do that. You can structure your deals like that, right? And Pace's, the house that we're standing right there, he actually acquired that home, and it was a 2% interest rate. And he just took over it because the seller was going to lose money on it. He's like, I'll just take over it. And now he's got a house at 2% interest. It's like pretty crazy. It's a very, very crazy thing that's new to me, but it just goes to show you that there are a lot of creative ways to succeed in real estate, all right? You don't have to have a high-paying job. You can be really scrappy, and you can be very successful doing it. A lot of people here have done it, all right? So that's it. That's my spiel. Thank you guys so much. Appreciate it.
Hopefully you watched that and it inspired you to maybe change or reconsider your strategy for the short-term rental game in 2023. I'm gonna be very honest with you. I've always been a believer that anybody can start a short-term rental business at any time. But I think that if you're walking into the game of Airbnb and you want to do this, 2023 is not really gonna be the year for the casual host, which is why I'm really cracking down on so many systems and processes and procedures, and a lot of what you're gonna be hearing on my channel. So if you believe you're gonna put a lot of time into this business, and you believe in yourself to put effort into the business, then my channel will always be a free resource for you where I'm gonna help you as much as I can, because that has been my mission since really pretty close to the beginning of the Raw Built channel. But if you want the accountability and the community aspect of running a short-term rental business, then consider enrolling in HostCamp, my mentorship program, where we give you the entire blueprint for starting, optimizing, and scaling your business. Whether you have no money coming into this game, whether you have a ton of money coming into this game, whether you're wanting to learn how to design a short-term rental or save hundreds of thousands of dollars in taxes via the short-term rental loophole, whatever it is, my community is here to help you. So if you want to learn more about my amazing community of over 1,500 students, then you can head over to hostcamp.com and book a free call with my team. Otherwise, I'll catch you next week with some video that will probably help you in your Airbnb business. Cool? All right, bye.